Welcome to the Wayne Bennett Podcast, celebrating West Virginia's people, places, and the culture of Southern Appalachia. Now here's your host, Wayne Bennett.
Welcome to Wayne Bennett's Podcast. This is episode 143. It's July the 2nd, 2024. And today our guest is a software engineer. And Derek Bailey, we've never had a software engineer on our program before. We've had a lot of different jobs, but welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm good to be here.
Now you were kind of been back and forth different states as a child, I guess. Tell me a little bit about your early life.
Well, I grew up here in Stanaford, West Virginia, little holler just down the road, Grill Road. Grew up around my family. It was really nice. My mother, her name was Rhonda. My dad's name was Tim. I grew up around my grandmother, Carol, or Brenda Carroll. My great-grandparents across the road, Clayton Hollingsworth and Arlene Hollingsworth. So it was a really close family community down our little holler there. And I just have the fondest memories of growing up here, going to Stanaford Elementary just up the road here. And I loved it. I loved every bit about my childhood. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And it was great growing up here in West Virginia. I don't think I could imagine growing up anywhere else.
Did you ever know why they call it the Grill Road?
I did not know that.
Well, actually, it's a body shop now as you cut down the road, and it's there used to be a grill there actually in the top and the bottom, and it was a filling station also. And Stanaford was a booming town at one time. They had a baseball park. They had a movie theater. They had two bars. It was when the miners were working, they had Stanaford number 1, number 2, and it was a busy place. And so when the grill shut down over 50 years ago, but they still call it the Grill Road. And I'm familiar with the Hollingsworth family. Maple Avenue, and there's only about 6 or 8 houses on Maple Avenue. You guys,
we were darn near all of them, and even now there's only a couple that are not family. We've had family move back from Florida, and then they've bought some of the houses that are around there that have left the family over the years, and it's growing back into what we dubbed the Hollingsworth Holler again.
Your great-grandfather, Clayton Hollingsworth, I've never heard anything bad said about him. I mean, those are fine people. Now your grandmother, what was her, Carol?
Carol, yeah. Her name is Brenda Carroll, but she's always gone by Carol.
Okay. I think I might have gone to school with her.
Yep, she was born in 1950. And she went to Woodrow here. She went to Beckley Stanaford before it burned down. She would always tell me the stories at the school before it burned down and rebuilt. And yet she was always right around here in the local area.
Now she and I would be about the same age. I thought didn't have any classes because at that time Woodrow Wilson was so big. We had 2,000 students, and you didn't. But I thought that she went there. And did she marry a Kaiser?
Yes, she was actually married to Doug Kaiser for a little while before he passed away of cancer. So her first husband, his name was Denny Cochran. I didn't know him very well. They divorced, and then she eventually married Doug Kaiser. He's in the same family that owned K&K Music, I believe.
Yeah, and they call him Skeeter or something. Did they call him that?
I don't know if that was him or his brother.
Okay.
Jimmy Kaiser, I think, is his brother.
Yeah.
And I never got to meet him. He passed away of cancer before I was born. But he actually adopted my mom and my uncle Jason, and they changed their name to Kaiser for that stint before he had passed away of cancer. Okay. Everything I've heard about him, he was a great man, and I kind of regret that I didn't get to meet him. It is kind of cool. I have an old fly fishing rod that used to be his that my grandmother had given me. So it's kind of like the only thing that I know that still exists of his memory is I have this really cool old fly fishing rod that he used to own.
Now, was he in on K&K Music and stuff too, or was he?
I don't know the extent of like what he did as a profession.
Yeah.
It was any story about Doug was just how much of a good man he was and how well he treated my grandmother.
Yeah.
And we never really got into the details of his profession. I know that was his family's business. And I think he was involved in some manner, but I don't know to the extent.
I think the one son that's in Beckley area now. Randy Kaiser runs. They own several bars and then still own the music and pool tables, things like that. But they've had that business for many years. Now your mother became a Brightwell or
Bright Bill. Yeah, her name is Bright
Bill
Bill now, and she married my dad Tim Bailey, and then got divorced from him, and then years later she married Robert Bright Bill. He's a good guy. They live down in Florida now, and it's weird. I moved down to Florida to go to college, and then I moved back, and then they decided to move down to Florida, and now they're down there.
Now, Tim Bailey, is it? I know a Tim Bailey that's lives in Mount Hope presently. Is that? Would that?
No, my dad passed away in 2017 of pancreatic cancer. But he lived in Southern Ohio the last few years of his life. But he is from the Mount Hope area-ish. Down Sweeneysburg Road is kind of where all of my Bailey family is from. They're kind of still there, and I bought a house 3 miles from them, so we're just stuck there.
Now you went to Stanaford Elementary. Did you go to middle school here?
I went to Beckley Stratton for a couple of years, and what's funny, I was listening to your podcast, and you had a Mr. Bostic on there, and I remember him teaching me at Beckley Stratton, and I was like, oh man, that's Mr. Bostic. How about that?
Actually, he and I walk together every morning. We have for like 25 years, and really good friends. And he and his brother have been on here several times. They kind of do a few little spoofs here and there. But now you, as a child, you guys moved around some. It was kind of tough moving into a new school. You're the new kid.
Absolutely. It was very, very tough. We were here until I finished 3rd grade. And then that summer, my mom decided to move to Florida for the first time. And we went down to Florida. And that year, I went to 4 different schools in 3 different states in that year alone. Oh, man. And it was rough. One of the schools, we did come up here back to West Virginia, but I was only in there for 5 days before I went to Ohio. It was a tough time. Making friends was always a little difficult going into the new school, trying to fit in and everything like that. But, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I did get a lot of experiences, and a lot of experiences I wouldn't have had if I didn't move around a lot. And so it was between 4th grade and finishing high school. It was always a jumping back and forth, sometimes in Florida and Ohio, sometimes back here for a few years of stint. And then finally, I finished high school down in North Carolina with my grandmother. She decided to let me come down there when I was in 11th grade, and I finished high school there in North Carolina.
It's kind of hard to establish what you call a permanent friendship with someone if you're not sure you're going to be there very long. And now, during this period of time, were there any teachers that stood out that might have influenced you as far as career or what you liked, or anybody that...
I wouldn't say career-wise. There was a technology teacher that I had one time in Ohio that I was really fond of them. They taught me some computer stuff, and it stuck with me. I can't remember their name, unfortunately, but that was probably what influenced me to go in the career direction I was, is because I had a vague understanding of how to use a computer, and then they really taught me some of the inner workings of what's going on, and I thought that was really neat. And so that was like a base inspiration. I've always been inspired by teachers. I mean, I believe there's a Coach Sanchez still at Stanaford Elementary, and I remember him all calling me, Mr. Bailey, hurry up, because I would be running around the gym and trying to cut the corners and stuff, and I remember him fondly. He was a great educator. And then I remember Bostic at Beckley Stratton, and then I remember Coach Powell of Woodrow Wilson very well, too. He taught me driver's ed, and I really enjoyed driving around with him.
You're talking about Pedro Sanchez, the gym teacher. I worked at the Y, and we started a gymnastics program. I worked at the Y for about 5 years, and we started a gymnastics program, and we interviewed people there was guys applied from all over the country and to run the program. And we hired Pedro. He had gone to Slippery Rock University and had great credentials, and he came into town, and what an athlete. I mean, the guy could run forever and do all kinds of stuff. And then he, even when the gymnastics program, there was other competition around town, and it just didn't catch on at the Y very well. But he stayed, and he got into the education field. And I still see him every once in a while. He's still around. Now, did you have any other special interest as a kid? I mean, any hobbies or anything besides?
Unfortunately, no. It was just I got introduced to video games at a young age. My cousin had a Super Nintendo, so I kind of got addicted to those for a while. I wish I could have been driven to sports or something like that. I did play youth soccer at the YMCA. That was back before they had the new complex. It was over there near across from a gas station they used to call Two Johns. I believe it's Dry. I mean, it might be Dry Hill Road.
Dry Hill. Yeah,
used to have the complex out there.
They had 2 or 3 fields up there before they got the complex. Now, you graduated in 2005. What happened after that?
So 2005, right after high school, I went to Ohio to stay with my dad. And I got a side job kind of under the table working, doing cleaning concrete forms. It was a commercial concrete supply company. They cut rebar, clean commercial concrete forms and everything. And it was manual labor. It was the first bit of real manual labor I had experience with coming out of high school. I was always a kind of a lazy teenager. And it was eye-opening. It was a big difference from going from not having a job in high school to doing that manual labor. I ended up moving around a little bit. I landed down in Fort Myers, Florida again, where my mom was. I got a job at a movie theater, and that was probably the best job I ever had.
What'd you do?
Everything. You would clean the theaters. We made the popcorn. My favorite part was up actually in the theater booth. They had the actual real film. And so we'd put the reels together and we'd thread them through the projector and let them play. And it was probably the most fun I ever had on a job. It didn't pay anything, but it was a lot of fun.
And so you did those jobs for a while, but you ended up in Parkersburg, West Virginia.
I hit a dead end, and I was wanting a career. That was the big point. I was tired of having just a job. I wanted a career. So I ended up here in Beckley, and then my uncle worked at the DuPont chemical plant in Parkersburg, and he told me about this program that West Virginia University Parkersburg was having, and they still have it. It's like a learn and earn program. So you're in a classroom for about 6 months learning the processes of how to operate like the chemical process, the chemical equipment and stuff that they have at the plant. And then the other 6 months you're actually in the plant doing the job as kind of like an intern or a co-op operator. And I gained a lot of experience from that. I really enjoyed that a lot. And the whole goal of it was at the end of the 1 year that, you would, if you did well, you'd get offered a job. And unfortunately, at the end of that year, there was a hiring freeze that they implemented. And I think it was related to a lawsuit that they were about to settle or something, because they had since split. It's not even a DuPont plant anymore. But so I was really disappointed after that first year. I was really gung-ho, wanting to make that my whole life there because I enjoyed the work and I had paid really well for the area, and it didn't work out. So after that disappointment, I decided, I just need to go full-fledged into the computer space. I know I like it, and I knew that I could be good at it if I tried, and I just went with it. Decided to go back to college for software engineering.
What kind of music did you listen to back in those days? Growing up, my dad's side of the family, they'd listen to the old country stuff. My grandmother Carol, she'd like to listen to the dance music because she used to always go to DeSoto's and dance, and so she liked to listen to the pop stuff. I had an uncle that always listened to rock. I mean, every time I got in my dad's car, we were listening to AC/DC. That was his favorite band. It was an eclectic collection of music, and I just enjoyed all of it. Right now, I still just enjoy all of it. I could listen to my playlist, and it'll go from some rock music to some old country music to some bluegrass music, wow. And it's just all over the place. Your grandmother had a sister too, didn't she?
Yeah, I believe my great grandmother had 9 children, if I'm counting correctly. So yeah, she was my grandmother Carol was the oldest. She had a sister named Mary Cathy and a sister named Sandy. She had another sister named Barbara and Arlene and Donna. Okay. And I had an Uncle Clayton Hollingsworth, Charles Clayton, the junior. I'm not sure if he was a junior. I think he was the second. And then an Uncle John, Uncle Jimmy. I have an Aunt Becky. It was a big family. The family reunions were always a good time, and that was something that I don't see happen very often anymore. The family reunions, but when I was a kid, and we'd have all the family come in. My great grandfather's family would come in from Ohio and from New York. We'd have just a big gathering there in the holler, and it was a good time.
Now you went to Florida Gulf Coast University.
Yes, sir. Florida Gulf Coast University. It's here in Fort Myers, Florida.
That's where they advertise turning ideas into impact or something like that. Tell me a little bit about the university. That's a newer school, isn't it?
It's a fairly young school. I believe it's about 25 years old, or it was about 25 years old when I was going there. They have a mission to be kind of environmentally conscious. When they built the program, they got the land from, I believe, some Calusa grant from the state of Florida. And part of the deal was they had to minimize the impact to the surrounding environment of them building up the school. And so they're actually limited right now on space. I don't think they can expand any longer on the existing footprint because of those regulations that they put in place when they bought the land. But they have a mission to preserve and nurture the environment. They have some specific requirements when you graduate there that you have to take like at least one environmental course. And it's a really cool course that they teach you about the local Florida environment and stuff like that. And I think it's a small school, but it's a really, really good school. It has a big school opportunities, but it has the small school feel, and I really enjoyed that.
You were studying software engineering. What does software engineer do? I don't know exactly what they do.
All right. So anytime you're using your computer or your phone, if you're using, like, say, an app on your phone, that app had to be programmed. So there's someone that had to tell your phone to do this when this button's pressed. And so it's basically you're taking this language that only the computer, everything understands, and you're building blocks with the language to make it accomplish a goal. So it just think of it as a Lego set, but with complicated words. And it's not even that complicated. It just looks complicated when you're looking at it. But once you understand that, oh, this whole thing, that's just one piece that plugs into this other piece, and it all kind of comes together behind the scenes. And so any computer software that you've used, someone's had their hand in there programming it and making that happen for you.
You know, back in the 1970s, someone would have told me, oh yeah, you're going to be carrying your phone around and you can look up information and take pictures and all this. I mean, I would have said, you're crazy, man. There's no way, you know. But what's coming up? I mean, what are we going to be doing here shortly that people, I don't know whether people will be shocked, but
I don't really know. It's tough right now because with the popularity of what they call AI it's a game changer in a lot of ways. I think it's going to change the way work is done for a lot of white collar jobs. I'm not all in on the fear mongering that it's going to replace a lot of jobs just yet. It's mostly going to be an efficiency tool right off the bat. So which I guess could impact jobs. If a job took two people, but one person could do it efficiently with AI, I guess that is a lost job to AI. That's kind of an unpredictable thing right now with that, because its capabilities we're not even scratching the surface of what it could possibly do. We just know right now it has a very, very large fear that it can take white collar jobs, which previously wasn't a big fear. You know, automation has been around for a long time with blue collar jobs and factory jobs. You know, get a robot to do it and you can lose factory workers. And this is a big threat to what we thought was, kind of an immune opportunity with the white collar jobs. So we'll see where that goes. I don't know what the future holds. It could go bad. It could go really good. For me personally, I can use it as an efficiency tool. If there's something that I need to write that's kind of complicated, that I can just put in there a few prompts to the AI engine, and it'll spit me out maybe a bare bones of what I need to do, and then I can go from there. So it might save me an hour's worth of work, of digging in and maybe doing a bunch of bare bones like scaffolding and everything. And I don't know, the technology is not going away. It's going to be with us whether we like it or not. Their phones aren't going away. It's only going to get more invasive into our lives every day. And the AI is probably the biggest unknown factor of where that can go.
Now, you worked for a defense contractor at one time, didn't you?
I did. I worked for a company called Leidos. It used to be a company called SAIC, and they do mostly government contracts, defense type of work. And that was my first job right out of college. And we were building military training software for the Egyptian government. They won a contract with the Egyptian government where we were going to rebuild a few of their training bases and rebuild the software that they use to control their training exercises. It wasn't anything crazy. It was like they basically have laser tag for their training exercises, and we were building software to kind of control those and read all the data and everything like that. And it was really interesting because I was like, well, the Egyptian government, that's silly. What are we doing that for? But it was a situation where, they were granted money for a defense upgrade, but they had to use it on an American company. And then so, they got the contract, and I learned so much there and about everything. And the defense industry is very, very vast. And there's actually that company that I worked for, Leidos. They have facilities here in West Virginia, in Fairmont and Morgantown. They built a multi-million-dollar facility. They dubbed the software factory up in Morgantown. So it's really cool.
I had a buddy that worked for a defense contractor back several years ago, and when the Iraqi War came about, and they started using Scud missiles and a few things like that, and I'd made a comment to it. He'd been working in that for quite a while and developing the military, the ammo, and I was talking about how great Scud missiles were, and he said, "Oh, this stuff's old." He said, "I can't talk about too much," but he said, "We created that 15 years ago." And what kind of job are you working in now?
So I just started with a company called Misfits Market, and it's an online grocery delivery company. And one of the big claims to fame is that, if people have heard about it, is they'll take kind of imperfect food that maybe come from farmers that they can't sell in the market, maybe because it's misshapen or something like that. They will upcycle the food, and they'll be able to sell it to consumers at a discounted price because it's mostly organic stuff. But what I do is I work on the biz ops side of that, and so they have vast warehouses and everything, and they have software that control that the belts and the communication between different sources of information, like this computer talking to the other system. And I work in the area that handles that. And so my day to day isn't with the consumer side of it, like in Amazon, like dealing with orders and stuff. I deal with just like the behind the scenes stuff of that's not consumer facing with the computer software, but it's very, very important to the baseline of their operation.
Well, Misfits, that's an interesting name because you're not old enough for this, but there was a movie called Misfits. Clark Gable and Marilyn Monroe, I think, was in that, but they didn't fit. So you're cutting out a middleman, but you're not getting the photogenic. And there's nothing wrong with it as far as the food's concerned. Now, what about but you sell packaged stuff too?
Yeah, they do sell grocery items, and they upsell grocery items as well. So it would take, for instance, like pretzels during the pretzel making process. If you get a lot of broken pretzels, instead of throwing those away, maybe they'll just dip those pieces in chocolate and sell those as like a snack. So it's just like upcycling what would be food waste into a usable product. And it's really helps the overall mission of the company to do that, which is trying to be environmentally conscious but still provide good food.
Now, let's say that I want to get involved. How do I do that?
Misfits Market, it works on a subscription type of basis. You can have it where it'll automatically send you a box of produce that you can select each week, or you can do it kind of an a la carte to where you can pick and choose which week that you would like to receive a package. Like say on Wednesday, for me, on Wednesday evening, my shopping list becomes available of what items will be available for my box next week. So I can go in Wednesday, pick all of the fruits and vegetables and grocery items that I want to get shipped to me next week. And then I have until Sunday to lock that in and change it. And then at Sunday, it locks in, it processes your payment. And then depending on where you live, it can get shipped directly to your house almost next day. If you live in the area. Our area in West Virginia, they have to use third-party characters like FedEx or UPS. And so I'm Thursdays are when I get my box. And I'm actually expecting my first box this Thursday, but it's 4th of July, so I may not receive that. So I'm really excited to actually get my first box of actual product. I've got some really cool fruits and stuff picked out. And they source them from just various farmers in various areas. And you'll get some fruits and vegetables that maybe they didn't sell theirs. I ordered something called an angel cot. I think it's a mix between an apricot and some other fruit. And it's just something I've never seen in a store. So let's try it out.
What if you're not happy with what you get? What happens?
That I'm unsure of. We have a vast customer success team to help with problems like that. Now, I think it would, if the product is that flawed, it should never get shipped. So if that would happen, then you would definitely contact customer success and we'd try to get that handled for you. But the whole entire process, I'm not really sure. I know they do a lot with crediting, so I think you'd get box credits and stuff for future orders. Maybe say you got a bad batch of corn or something, like they could give you credits for future orders for that. I can't speak to exactly what they'll do in every situation.
So you order this, they bring it to you. I'm sure the product is cheaper than the store, than you can buy in the store, because you're kind of cutting out a middle guy. And then, but you do have to pay shipping, right?
There is a fee depending on where you live. The fee can change. If you're in one of the more populated areas near their centers, the freight is a little less because they don't have to go through the third party. But for me, I think it's like a $10 fee to get it shipped to me. So depend. I mean, and that's a flat fee, no matter how much you order, how less. So I mean, that fee doesn't grow with the scale of your order. You could order a lot and it'd still only be that one fee. And they have refrigerated goods and everything. And I don't know how good the refrigerated goods go on the third party characters just yet, because I'm only just starting there. But we have like first party delivery in the bigger cities. Like they like kind of like an Amazon delivery truck. Like it's not Amazon. It's a Misfits truck. It goes right from the facility directly to homes on a dedicated route. And they even will recycle the packaging. Like all of the packaging that gets shipped to you, you put it out on your front stoop, and the delivery guy, when he delivers your next box, will take the packaging from you so that it can be properly reused and recycled and everything. They've done a really good job of implementing their mission.
Now, is this company's new? Also, what? Last 5 years, 6 years?
I believe so. I've only started there the last 3 weeks, so I've got a lot to learn.
Well, I just wondered, do you have competition in the same nature, or is this a one of a kind?
I would say it's one of a kind. One of the biggest competitors are farmers markets. Farmers markets are a huge competitor for Misfits Market, and rightly so. The farmers selling their stuff directly. That's a good thing for everybody. It's good for the local economy. It's good for the farmers.
Most of them.
No, it's hard to get a farmers market to deliver.
And if you buy this, do you have a quota? I mean, do you have to buy so much, or do you know?
For me, there's a $35 minimum. So $35 minimum before they'll ship it out to you. Uh-huh. And then you have the $10 fee on top of that. So for me, my order that I got this week, the minimum it could have possibly charged me was $45 plus tax. And so I believe I was out the door at like $46. But the amount of produce I got, I priced it out at Kroger, and I probably got $50 worth of produce if I were to go to Kroger to buy it.
Now, Misfits Market. Can you look it up on the internet and find Misfits Market?
Yeah, misfitsmarket.com. Our software team has done a great job with the website. It's very user friendly, and it's really easy to interact with and easy to understand what you're getting into. I highly recommend checking it out.
Now, you moved to Beckley, the Beckley area, 3 years ago?
3 years ago, I moved back.
You're not exactly a boomerang person because you've kind of bounced around a little bit, but how come you left Florida, where people are moving to Florida, and came back to West Virginia?
Well, I wanted a house, and that was the biggest thing. I finished college, I got the job. The next thing on the list is you got to buy a house, and so I really wanted that. And it was just after the pandemic down in Florida, and that the housing market just skyrocketed in price. And so when we were talking almost $300,000 for a small 2-bedroom house, and it just became where I didn't want to pay that much for so little. And it's unfortunately, it was like that all around the country, but a little bit less here in West Virginia. And so I took a vacation. I came back here for a whole month. I was working from home. So I was like, hey, I could work from anywhere. I'm going to come back home for a month, stay at my grandma's house, go fishing every day after work, and just see how I like it. And I just fell back in love with being home. I couldn't imagine going back to Florida and trying to buy a house, and whenever everything was available here that I would wanted. And I searched around for a few houses. I really wanted to live in Woodcrest. I searched for a couple houses in Woodcrest, and those fell through. And then I found what I think was the perfect opportunity for a house that was about 3 miles from where my dad and everybody grew up. And got about 3 acres of land and a nice house, big garage. And it's a situation where I would never be able to afford that in Florida. So why would I not want to come home and do that? And working remotely afforded me that opportunity. And I am forever grateful that technology has progressed in a way that I could make a good living and still work from home and live where I want to be here in West Virginia.
Wow, now you like to fish. You mentioned that a few times. Do you hunt?
I'm not a good hunter. I like to hunt. I'm not a good one.
Yeah.
I think the last time I went hunting, I was a teenager though. I went with my uncle down in Monroe County. And I think I barfed up my breakfast going up the first mountain because it was just a lot of walking.
Yeah, the guys, most of the people that deer hunt nowadays, they don't do it like they used to. They got 4-wheelers and they throw out a little food and those kind of things. Used to be they had drives and all this stuff. It's changed drastically. I'm not a hunter anymore. I used to hunt a little bit when my dad was alive and stuff, but now I feed them and take pictures of them. But I do like to fish also, and West Virginia is, in a good way and a bad way, West Virginia, the secret is getting out there, and people are coming in from New York and everything, and they're not only vacationing, they're buying up property, and it's I think the secrets. If you're trying to get into real estate business, it can be very profitable. Are you married?
I'm not married yet. I've been with my girlfriend Sarah for about 9 years now. So there's a lot of questions about why that hasn't happened yet. I don't have an answer yet. Hopefully she doesn't hit me over the head when I get home.
Now I always try to surprise somebody in the interview. Are there some majorettes in your family?
I know my mom did that. My mom was she did the baton twirling when she was younger in high school, and she's got my little niece to do it now. I don't know if it's the same thing. My niece does the baton twirling, and I know my mom used to do that. But the majorette, she did that also in band when she was at Woodrow for a little bit. And she never really told me any stories about it. She just said that she used to do it in high school.
But now it's becoming more of a competition. But what's on your bucket list?
That's a good question. I want to travel. I want to see things. There are a lot of things. There's a lot of things in West Virginia I'd still like to see. There are a lot of things in the United States I'd like to travel and see. And one thing, where I grew up here is I didn't get to see a lot. When you grow up a little poor, you don't really get the opportunity to go see a lot of the things that other people get to see. So being here now, with the opportunity to see those things, it's a totally different viewpoint on the town. I still haven't been to the exhibition coal mine. I still haven't seen that. I need to go check that out. I'd like to go up to Seneca Rocks, Blackwater Falls. I want to see all of those things.
I've never seen Seneca Rocks. I keep telling my wife, this summer we're going. I'm not sure I can walk that far now. I might just have to stand back and look at it. But and it's kind of funny. We live in an area where people will come pay great amounts of money to camp and whitewater raft and things like that. And I've been whitewater rafting a few times, and I've been to exhibition coal mines, but it's kind of like living close to the ocean. You don't go every day or whatever, but people are spending thousands of dollars. Now you, on your Facebook page, you said there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. That's a good attitude.
That is great. That I got that from Disney. There's an attraction at Disney World called the Carousel of Progress, and it's one of my favorite things. And it's part of the song that it sings during the attraction, and that's always stuck with me. Is just have a positive attitude and just know that you're the only one that control your own future. So just have a positive attitude about it and just hope for the best and do the best you can.
We got to mention your fiance, we got to mention the name.
Well, her name is Sarah. Her name is Sarah Hansen. She had never been to West Virginia before, so we came up here for a week, and she really liked it. And then luckily, I was able to talk her into moving because she's a Florida gal. She didn't know much about West Virginia, so I was really lucky that she agreed. I was a little nervous when I was approaching her. I was like, I found a house in West Virginia that I'd like to buy. What do you think? And then she looked at me. She's like, well, I mean, if you really like it, I'll give it a shot. So I am forever grateful for that.
Has it worked out?
So far, so good. I think she's enjoying it. We have a, she could sit on the front porch and she'd see the little deer running across the yard, and she's reading her book and she's just having a good time. I think she likes it.
Well, Derek, I appreciate you coming and talking to us. Is there anything else you'd like to mention that while we're on the air?
I would, the only thing I really would hope for is that more West Virginians can realize they can make a good living and stay where they want to be here, home, and just working online, working from home. There are a lot of remote jobs. They're not all software related. You can have a remote job working at a call center, and you can still do that from home. I have an aunt that just moved back from Arizona, and she works from home as a call center associate. And there are opportunities available if you want to stay here and you want to make a career out of something. And I just advise everyone to look into it and really, really, really take a good look at it, because West Virginia needs its people. We need our people to stay here, and if there's opportunity there, I think the people will stay.
I appreciate that. Well, when you become rich and famous, would you come back and talk to us on our podcast?
Absolutely. I don't know about the famous part or the rich part, but I'll talk to you anytime.
We'd love to have you. You're welcome anytime. Okay. Anybody else out there would like to be on our podcast, you can contact me at awbennett50.com, and we'll get you on here. And remember, until next time, if you're not dead yet, you're not done yet. This is Wayne Bennett, and God bless you.